y'all. Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Leah, and I'm so happy that you're able to come back and join me today. So as you can see from the title of this video, this is a long-awaited third episode in the series Educate to Liberate. Y'all, when I tell you it has been a journey, I was actually supposed to film this video probably over a month ago, but when I tell you, life happens. People get busy between training and moving and starting training again. I just haven't had the energy or the time to actually do it. But now that I'm in my place, I'm kind of somewhat settled in order to, try to get back on a regular track and things like that. Disclaimer. These are strictly my opinions, what I have learned in my own studies, my own reading, and just in my own personal experience. However, I will leave links down below to certain articles and readings, books that kind of back up my perspective for that matter. But again, I am not an expert. I'm not here to say speak the gospel and speak the truth. I'm just here to tell it like it is, how I see it, my truth. My personal is political. So yeah, and I'm just here to share some knowledge. Remember, we're here to educate to liberate, because you can't be truly free unless you educate yourself first. So as you can see with the title, today we're going to be talking about appropriation versus appreciation. This is a topic, well, it's not new, it hasn't been new, but I just felt like I wanted to speak on it and say my piece, just because I've had several situations, where people have asked me about it, why certain things shouldn't be, or why are some things okay and some things aren't, and what that really means. So I just thought I'd make a video on it and kind of dive just a little bit deeper into it. Hopefully this video isn't going to be too long, just because there's so many different elements, but I will be linking a bunch of links down below to a lot of things that I'm going to talk about today. So yeah, so before we get started, don't forget to like this video, comment down below, and subscribe. Also, don't forget to press that bell button so you get notified anytime I post a new video. And without further ado, let's hop straight into the video. In case you didn't know, appropriation is actually when people or whoever just decides to take on someone else's culture as their own and adopt it as their own without giving any recognition or any recognition or respect towards like where it actually originated from. But however, it can come in so many different forms. It's not just as strictly as, oh, this is mine now, it's not yours. It's more so about the lack of knowledge or the ignorance of taking on certain things, whether it be in music, fashion, hair, or any different form of culture or media or social media in that sense, as something that can be generalized as, being a fad or something that is very current. It's a trend. It can be trendy, but it becomes a problem when people's actual culture becomes a trend for other people's benefit. So one person's doing it, so everybody's gonna do it now. However, these same people that it may have originated from don't get that same credit. Also, just because they've been largely discriminated against for trying to be their authentic selves, which is why we have issues when it comes to especially cultural appropriation. However, cultural appropriation, like I said, appears in so many different forms. So today I'll just kind of be talking briefly just about a little bit of everything. So I'm just going to start with a little quick overview about history just of Black culture, African American culture, just to kind of lay the framework. So when we think about the origins of African American culture, of course we automatically think the tragic history of slavery and all those things like that. Remember, race isn't real. I will always continue to say that race isn't a real thing. However, the emergence of Black culture, in my personal opinion, is a way that Black people have learned to cope with their status, their existence in this world, as being deemed less than, even though we know that's not true. However, out of these trials and tribulations, people form different different ways of being and living in order to exist and cope with what's going on. In addition to that, there are a lot of traditions and customs that exist prior to this tragic period of slavery as well. So for instance, we can start off with hair. As you can see, I have my hair in Bantu knots today. I hope y'all like them. But in case you didn't know, Bantu knots originated from a group of nomadic people in the continent of Africa called the Bantu people. Yes, they were a large group of people. There were also many different deviations of Bantu, and they literally migrated across the entire continent over a span of hundreds of years, from the western coast of Africa all the way to the southeastern coast of Africa. And very much so, I'm going to insert some pictures as well. Bantu knots, along with a lot of other styles, most importantly, of course, braids or cornrows that a lot of black women or just black people and black men as well wear, are culturally affiliated just because within these tribes, they have significant meaning. You can actually learn a lot about a person's life and history and their personality just through their hair alone. And like I said, I'm going to insert some pictures. So of course, from a lot of different hairstyles, you can tell someone's status, their marital status, maybe their social status within their tribe as well, where they may be from, or any other kind of more specific personality or cultural traits specific to that person or that group. So therefore, when slavery did happen, and it was really popular for a lot of slave owners to shave the heads of these enslaved people, it really took a huge toll on them, because it's literally the stripping away of people's culture, who they are and how they wear themselves fully authentically on their phenotype. So it is literally wholly tragic for them to have their entire head shaved. That's why, we always talk about hair being your crown, being something that's sacred to cover that, to also cover your head, as you can see in a lot of different religious cultures as well. But hair is extremely, extremely important, not only for black people, for lots of people and people of color. So when we have instances, of course, most notoriously known as, the Kardashians and these boxer braids, which are just cornrows. They didn't coin that. And if you think so, honey, I highly suggest you do your research. Also, Marc Jacobs going viral years ago for having these twisty buns, and also like this space buns thing. That of course stems from Bantu knots, as which you can see on top of my head. They're not new, but people recreate them and rebrand them in order to make them trendy and make them more palatable to other people. However, people like me who decide to wear my hair authentically in its natural state in a hairstyle like this, more than likely will be discriminated against if I went into a professional setting looking like this, just because it isn't deemed proper, professional, or people wouldn't take me seriously, which is why we have a problem when we talk about cultural appropriation. Therefore, people like me who can't be their true authentic selves and therefore have to whitewash themselves into conforming to societal norms. Thus, you have this large movement of black women perming and straightening their hair in order to fit this ideal image of white beauty, which is the white woman. So you hear lots of conversations, especially with people like Bad Baby, Barbie, whatever her name is. But, people having issue with black women. Why are you wearing blonde hair? Why are you wearing straight hair? X, Y, and Z. Isn't that appropriation? Well, you can't call it appropriation if it's literally been forced on you to do in order to conform and have a decent way of living. If you have to sacrifice your true authentic self in order for you to be in this world and in this society. So that's a problem. In addition to that, of course, appropriation goes beyond just hair. It also comes into fashion and comes into music as well. So just a quick note about fashion. Of course, we have this whole concept and idea of streetwear. Everybody loves their Jordans. Everybody loves, the pants and the jackets and anything, that kind of exemplifies this urban streetwear. But we also know that words like urban are very coded in terms of who they're referring to, especially when we talk about urban inner cities, most particularly people of color, black people, black and brown people that live in inner cities in impoverished neighborhoods due to gentrification and all those other things. That's a conversation for another day. However, style also has a lot to do with what you're able to get your hands on, and more than likely, since we know that there's a huge culture of Black people being impoverished within the United States, you know, doesn't leave many options for, you know, dressing how you want, or, you know, trying to promote this image of very put together, whatever the case may be. In addition to that, we can think of things, for instance, like Jordans. I remember when it became a really big, well, I remember, like, I was there. I wasn't there, but when Jordans did become popular, you know, it was a huge thing for Black people just to have someone like Michael Jordan, to have a Black man in mainstream media in the NBA make it big. It was really, really huge to kind of see someone that looked like you, to have this representation in a large mainstream media, create a product that felt like it was targeted just for people that looked like him. So that was something that was very, very, you know, revolutionary in that sense of culture and the fashion industry, I would say. So, you know, for people to, you know, get these Jordans, it was more than just, you know, oh, I got a pair of shoes, where it's like, I got a nice pair of shoes that were also created by someone that looks like me, for people that look like me, which, you know, is revolutionary, especially in a world where the majority of things are not tailored towards Black and brown bodies to begin with. So to have that is something that's completely extraordinary and unheard of. Furthermore, we can get into music as well. Same thing with music. There's a lot of backlash, especially as it pertains, you know, rap music, R&B, trap music. Well, particularly one with R&B, especially the blues. The blues was it's literally the creation of African Americans in the Deep South. The blues originate especially in the Deep South areas, such as like the states of like Louisiana, for instance, and the blues had a lot to do with, you know, the actual experience of being African American within the 1900s, and way into the Harlem Renaissance as well. So you have several Black scholars and writers who talk about these things in their writing, but also you have the equivalent within the music industry. So people that sang the blues, or even played it on their instruments, that was an entire category of embodying the African American experience in America, what it's like to be a Black person, a Black man, a Black woman in America. So having R&B music derived from that is strictly based within the African American experience. Nowadays, you know, of course, rap music has become very, very popular, and again, there's lots of criticism about, you know, trap music and how vulgar it is, and, you know, always talking about guns and all X, Y, and Z. So yeah, that in itself also, in order to be really critical about that, you have to realize, what are people surrounded by? So I'm actually going to insert the video clip probably right now.
Well, first of all, I think that people need to take into consideration that hip-hop traditionally has always been a reflection of the environment the artist had to endure before he made it to where he was. So if you want to change the content of the music, change the environment of the artist, and he won't have such negative things to say.
So this video clip is of T.I. when he was talking about, you know, why do all these rappers are talking about essentially the same things around gun violence, things of that nature. However, people make their art based on what they're surrounded by for the most part. And again, going back to what I said earlier, given the state and nature of the United States and how Black and brown people are highly marginalized and impoverished in this country, you know, they live in areas where it's this part of this whole scarcity of resources. Again, I use that with scare quotes just because we know that there is an imbalance of how resources are distributed in this country. But, you know, if everybody's kind of men for themselves, and people are walking around with guns for their own protection and safety, just due to the fact that there are limited resources in their community, people are going to talk about what they're surrounded by, not by choice, but because of their reality. Again, kind of going back to what I really want to emphasize here is what Black radical feminists have coined as, you know, the personal is political. So the personal experience of Black people, particularly in their case Black women, personal experience is the reality that you live, and that's something no one can take away from you. Therefore, speaking on it and however you see fit, whether that be an open forum, within music, or through art like drawing and painting, is your reality. That's something that hasn't changed. But it just, when you don't have all the facts, that's how you lead to ignorant conversations that kind of talk about the whole concept of Black on Black crime. Well, the reason why we have this whole concept is because if there's poverty around, that's who people are in close proximity to. Those are the people who they're competing for resources for. If you put two and two together, it makes sense, you know? So kind of like what I've stated is, of course, the whole appropriation side. So when we talk about appreciating a culture, more so I'm thinking about acknowledging where it comes from, who started it, and why. And also, you know, I'm not here to police, you know, people's fashion or way of life, you know, because people have all types of different upbringing, so who am I to judge that? However, it's really important to be informed about the decisions that you make and what you choose to wear or put on. Where does it come from? Why particularly do you see a particular group of people wearing certain things or doing certain things? It's not just by coincidence. There's reasons for everything. Everything we do is shaped by, in some way, shape, or form, by the culture industry that we live in, which is just the whole idea of how media is portrayed, what's put into mainstream and what's not. Therefore, how people who are extremely marginalized have to make do with their situations of being constantly pushed to the margins. So again, when we think about appreciating cultures, not saying you can't do something, but making very informed decisions as to why, what for. Are you doing it because it's trendy, because the next person is doing it, or is there a deeper meaning or out of respect? Those are questions that you should more so ask yourselves when trying to engage, or, you know, just push your own critical thinking from simple things in terms of fashion, even the music you may listen to, or even, you know, the type of styles that you choose to wear or would like to try out, for instance. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's pretty wordy, but I really can go on and on forever. I probably might try to break this down into different segments. So let me know down in the comment section below if you'd like that. Again, like, I hope y'all like my bantu knots. I worked really hard on them. And yeah, this has been my go-to style for the week. I really love them. Yeah. So again, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please let me know, is there something new that you learned, or something that you can teach me too, because I'm always learning. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave me a comment down below. Again, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Hit that bell button. I'm watching you. I'm waiting. You know what? I'm actually gonna wait. Please hit the bell button. I'd really appreciate it. Lets me know you like my content. I work really hard and I have a full-time job, so like that video. All right, thanks y'all. I will see you guys in my next video.